Oh, you are live.
Aha, we are live. Mike, are you still with me?
We're still with you.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's terrific. Okay, it looks like we're live. That was a little funky. It took me back to the start. So we'll just go ahead and get started. Happy Friday. Thank you everyone for tuning in to our COVID-19 webinar series. I am Juliette Abdel, President and CEO for the Westminster Chamber of Commerce. If you happen to land on this page and it's your first time, be sure that you like our Facebook page, you follow our page, and you share this. If it's not beneficial to you, it might be beneficial to a friend or family member that's looking for resources during this time. So our COVID-19 series was launched as a way to help a lot of our businesses that were having to overcome some of the challenges as a result of this epidemic that's going on. And so there's a new way of operating business. Some are struggling to continue, and we're just trying to find the resources to either help you guys continue or transition into a new way of operating. Today's topic is focused on funding resources. And this is one of those topics that we've continued to hear from the survey and outreach calls that we've completed so far in our business community. What funding resources are available? We're having cash flow interruptions. We don't know, how long this is going to last. Our revenue stream has significantly decreased. So what's available, what's out there for our businesses? What we've been proactive in doing as a chamber, and I'll post our link to this, is update our resources page. westminsterchamber.biz/COVID-19-update has information about all the chamber events that we've either transitioned virtually, but then it also has resources like businesses that are open that we're aware of, restaurants and bars, all the way to boredom boxes that you can be doing with your family or kids that are in your home while you're trying to work. And then we've included sources of funding, information from city, state, county, school districts, where to find food, where to find support for housing. I mean, we've had phone calls and messages on, I've had to close my business, now I can't pay my rent, or I'm running into mental health challenges and more. So this is a comprehensive page where we've included things like grants that we're aware of, bartender programs that are out there, auxiliary cost grants to cover up to $250 for some seniors. But these are two individuals that we have on the call. We have Greg Francis from US Bank, and Greg is a board member of ours and serves on the commercial banking side, a lot of US Bank operation here in the North Metro area of Colorado. And Greg will be talking a little bit briefly about the SBA Disaster Relief Program and what they can be offering our businesses. We also have with us Mike O'Donnell. Mike is the executive director of the Colorado Lending Source, a personal friend of mine, but a champion for small business. They generally provide support on a micro level. So to businesses that are getting started, maybe they're in the initial phases or even earlier on, but are looking for that maturity and the support to get to from an entrepreneur to a fully functioning and operating business, and even graduating out past that. So they do a host of things. They have a program that's available for lending that they want to be sure to share with us, because there's a lot of funding sources that are out there. We want you to know what's out there, what are the opportunities for each one, what might be the disadvantages in your opinion, and select which one you want to go with instead of just forcing you to select one. Long-winded. That's enough talking for me. I'll transition it over to Greg to carry on with this and introduce the program that he knows more about.
Good. Thank you. And a pleasure, Juliette. A little background noise there, but a pleasure, Juliette, and Mike as well as Colorado Lending Source. A pleasure to work with you. My name is Greg Francis, and I am also the secretary for the Westminster Board of Directors and on the Westminster Chamber. But I also serve as vice president of business banking for US Bank and support the community of clients with US Bank in Denver. I'm going to give you a little bit of context before I share with you some of the information around liquidity and lending sources. So I'm going to give you a little context. It was December 29th that China first reported 40 cases of COVID. Now, you'll have to forward 60 full days until February 29th, that then the first reported death of COVID-19 was reported in the United States on American soil. Okay, fast forward now to March 27th, as the largest stimulus bill, $2 trillion, is getting passed by the House today. So I'm going to bring you current. Yesterday, the jobless claims reported was 3.2 million, a record high from the previous week, which was just a mere 695,000, where unemployment ranged around 2 to 3%. So you can imagine what is going through lawmakers' eyes right now if they're seeing a 3.28 million unemployment claims. The Fed acted quickly, and I want to make a mention that the Fed is typically viewed as the lender of last resort. So when the Fed is injecting cash, you know that people have all attention of lawmakers. So I'm going to take you to what will become known, and if you were in finance in 2008, you likely heard of TARP, or you likely heard of foreclosures. A new word that everyone's going to want to really learn is effective on Eastern Time, Wednesday the 25th, the U.S. House unanimously approved the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, also known as the CARES Act. So remember that one. It will become history textbook going forward. They released the final text of the CARES Act late Wednesday. So just to put this into perspective, it is now Friday morning. Just late Wednesday evening, the CARES Act was first visible. If passed by the House of Representatives, which is expected to pass today, the 27th of March, and then signed into law by the President, the CARES Act will provide relief, significant financial aid to small businesses and individuals that are being hardest hit by the economy as we're seeing the impact of COVID. This is a $2 trillion economic stimulus package designed to jumpstart the economy and get people back to work. I'm going to highlight two notable areas of the economic stimulus package. The first is what you're going to hear and refer to as the Triple P, Paycheck Protection Program. So that's another notable one. You'll hear about this to come. It's roughly a $349 billion stimulus package of the CARES Act. And in addition, I'll cover some of the SBA options. So first, I want to make it notable that this is all on speculation that the House will pass, and as well that the President will sign this into law today. But I want to first highlight what the PPP stands for and what it will share with you. The Payment Protection Program is part of the CARES Act. And what this will do is allow for businesses who normally had a payroll, and there will be some stipulations and requirements as to their prior payroll reporting. They will be able to and encouraged to retain staff, keep staff actively employed. They will then be reimbursed through the federal CARES program through PPP. That economic stimulus will then be given to the business owner, and in turn, business owners will keep payroll. So I'm going to go back to the 3.28 million jobless claims that were filed earlier this week. What the Fed is trying to do, and think of the Fed as the lender of last resort, is keeping those payroll jobless claims low. So the more people we can keep employed, the more that we can keep the economic stimulus to the economy running. So you'll hear more about this. You're going to see that U.S. Bank, many other lenders, will have availability to help provide the PPP program. It will be typically distributed to our clients through a digital platform in which they will elect to collect information digitally. They will then sign up through the program. The details, while we have quite a bit of them, we still don't know the full context of the PPP program. We are encouraging our businesses in the community, whether they bank currently with U.S. Bank or another institution, to sign up for the information so that they are the first clients eligible to receive this information. Now, to give you some context, U.S. Bank released on their website, usbank.com, information about COVID-19. Just yesterday at 11 a.m., we released a sign-up, an early sign-up questionnaire that a business can sign up with U.S. Bank to simply receive updates. And I want to give you the context of this. Just within a 3-hour window, there were 2,500 individual business owners that signed up to say, I want to be first in line to learn more about the Triple P program. So that's the first. I'll share with you another piece of the CARES stimulus package, which is going to be an amendment to the 7A program. Now, to give you some context, the 7A program offered through SBA is roughly the procedural document is roughly 427 pages. That's been redacted, and one of the CARES Acts is we are going to more or less shorten the time frame, shorten the requirements for the 7A program. I'll share with you that this 7A program is covered between February 15th and June 30th of 2020. 100% of the fees are waived, a personal guarantee is waived, and what we're looking to do is help businesses stimulate and find that economic liquidity as soon as they can. This program is going to be eligible for most SBA standard-sized lending. It will also be eligible for nonprofits, 501c3s, and veterans 50C19 organizations. The most important part of this is deferral payments up to 12-month deferral. And the goal of this is, again, to stimulate liquidity. Liquidity will allow the business owners to cover things such as utilities, rents, interest. Juliet, the last thing I want to share with you, and if you were anywhere other than under a rock in 2008 or 2009, the buzzword was TARP and foreclosures. And I want to share with you also, while we're talking to business owners, they're also impacted by payments to things such as a residential mortgage and also a commercial mortgage. Most banks, significantly any of those that are backed securities with Fannie or Freddie, the buzzword of 2020 will be forbearance. So note that after the housing crash of 2009, the legislature added forbearance terms, and what forbearance will essentially allow is for a client to defer payments on many of their loans to a later date. That debt is essentially added to the amortization schedule of their current debt. Forbearance will become the biggest buzzword of 2020, and if you talk to most lenders, they are sharing that they are receiving hundreds of thousands of phone calls on an hourly basis of clients asking for information about forbearance. You know, U.S. Bank supports the communities within Denver. I'd refer anyone that has information to this to our website, usbank.com, where you can get a complete and very well detailed, organized information about all programs eligible to both business owners and consumer. So Juliet, I'll stop there. I know we're in the essence of time. I'll stop there and allow my colleague Mike to share information as well.
Thank you, Greg, for giving kind of a background as you were sharing some of the newer things in this bill. I think that helps to give an idea of, you know, where things were and where they are right now. I also liked you touching on the various parts of that monstrous bill. So we will have a summary of that bill posted on our website. We'll also be including links on that COVID resources page of who our lenders are in the area that people can go to, and I will be sure to include U.S. Bank. And I think it's safe to say for everybody that's watching this, you know, the businesses that are supporting the nonprofits, chambers, and various entities that are out there, we're not viewing it as who's involved and directly our customer already, and that's who we're supporting. We're opening this up in support of the entire business community. So I liked you highlighting that you're, you know, you have the updates and information available for anybody that's interested, regardless of whether or not they have already interacted with U.S. Bank. I wanted to thank Jason Gank, I know from City Parks and Rec, for tuning into our video. I'm sure you are getting questions as well, and Parks and Rec has been phenomenal in trying to transition and do some virtual things for our community. Julie Steen, thank you so much with Steen Machining. I hope this is of value to you. Please keep watching so you can hear what Mike has to say, and if that also is appropriate and relevant to you all. And Brian Head, thank you. Hello back for tuning in and supporting all of the speakers that are on here. So. Thanks, Greg. We'll transition now to Mike O'Donnell with Colorado Lending Source to tell us more about their program and what they have going on and what we should be aware of.
Thank you, Juliet. And I'll also mention a little bit about CARES as well, too, it just after I introduce ourselves. But Colorado Lending Source, we're a private nonprofit, been here in Colorado now for 30-odd years. We work with a lot of the SBA programs. We work with the SBA 504 program, which is a program the SBA has to encourage businesses when they're ready to own the real property they operate their business out of. We help some community banks here in Colorado process and their SBA guarantee loan programs. We also do the Community Advantage Loan Program, which is a version of the SBA 7A program for nonprofits like us that allows us to make loans to businesses that aren't quite ready for a bank yet. And we also have our micro programs we call the Colorado Main Street Loan Program. We also just recently launched here in Colorado the Kiva program and became a Kiva hub for the Denver metro area. And for those of you who don't know, Kiva, which is spelled K-I-V-A, is an international sort of micro lender and really based here in the US, but really now refocused on helping businesses in the United States. What Kiva does is offer 0% interest rate loans to small businesses. The loans are capped at a maximum of $15,000, which is okay for business. It's an early stage. It's really fairly easy to apply for the loans, and the loans are actually crowd-lended, if that makes sense. So a small business that wants to get on the Kiva platform will apply. There's an application. We will help them through that application process. They then have a period where they need to find 15 friends and family who would be willing to make a $25 loan to that entity. And once they get those 15 people on board, their request goes to a public platform where other people from around the world can make $25 0% interest rate loans to those businesses. So we have actually a backlog of about 60 of those projects that we're working with at Colorado Lending Source to get onto the platform to get the information out. So Kiva is an existing platform that's relatively easy to access. I wanted to circle back around with some of the things that Greg was talking about, the CARES Act. And we currently already have the ability for small businesses and nonprofits to access the SBA Disaster Assistance Loan Program. And that provides financing assistance to businesses through an online application. The funds come really from FEMA, but they're administered by the Small Business Administration. And we can always share those links with you. There's a lot of activity on that website, and the website goes up and down a lot. The CARES Act is providing a lot more choices for small businesses, and specifically anyone that has an existing SBA loan, whether that's a 504 or a 7A or a Community Advantage loan, will automatically get a 6-month deferral, not a deferral, but the federal government will make principal and interest payments for the next 6 months on those loans. So the businesses get a holiday for their loan payments as part of the CARES Act as it rolls out. So it won't happen effective April 1, but for borrowers from May through to November, they'll get their loans paid if they have SBA loans. The PPP program that Greg mentioned, that provides a new version of a 7A loan, but there's a component within that that says that if the business has incurred expenses or does incur expenses related to payroll, anything to do with payroll, anything to do with lease, rent costs, anything to do with health insurance that you pay the employees, mortgage payments, any of those things that you wrap into that PPP loan that you incur between the middle of February and the end of June, that loan is a forgivable loan in the sense that you don't have to pay that back. So essentially you can get a much longer loan under the program using the 7A program, then you can go up to 10 years. The SBA sets a maximum interest rate the bank can charge, which is in that 4% range, and essentially provides less expensive financing on a long-term basis. But any of the funds that are deployed during that period from the middle of February through the end of June related to payroll, keeping employees, making your rent payments, all of that is a forgivable loan. Now, the program, as Greg mentioned, should be signed by the president, should go through the House today, be signed by the president today. The SBA has 30 days to roll that program out. So there's going to be some challenges in trying to get that into the hands of the banks. It will primarily be a bank lent focus program, although the legislation allows the SBA and the Department of Treasury to allow other lenders to participate in that program as well. And that may involve a group like ourselves. So we're not sure whether we will be allowed to do that or not. But again, that is probably huge for a lot of the businesses that are listening here, because a forgivable loan or a loan you don't have to pay back with no personal guarantee attached is actually huge for a lot of businesses. So this is all sort of unfolding as we talk, and as the SBA starts to roll the legislation out or the rules out over the next couple of weeks, we'll have your community will have more access to this through Greg's Bank, and that will be really, really great. So getting onto that list that US Bank has created will get you the most up-to-date information as quickly as possible so you can coordinate that. And again, the intent is we want to keep people employed. We want to keep people working. We want to keep people helping pay the mortgages at home, and we want to keep the businesses that have unfortunately been shuttered at least viable enough so that when we come out the other end of this, we can start back up all over again. So we at Colorado Lending Source are getting a lot of requests for deferrals on our loans. We have about 1,200 loans on our books. About a quarter of them have gone on to an automatic 6-month deferral, interest and principal. And so a lot of people that we're trying to help are getting the relief immediately to try and get them a breathing space to then get the new legislation from the CARES and then work with that to actually really reestablish themselves and come back at the other end of this. So I'll just sort of stop there and sort of give you, but we've got now Akiva, many communities that we're working with, and even from a state perspective, the states get a lot of money under this CARES Act program too. So Colorado gets $2.32 billion worth of money. And in discussions yesterday with the state about how those funds can be deployed to better help small businesses. There's so much that still is up in the air around this whole program that there'll be a lot more for your viewers and the participants to sort of learn about. A lot more to come, but in the short term, there are some choices, but be patient if you can and keep working with your employees.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Mike. There's a lot of things that are still unfolding. And as you know, government's trying to find a solution, as different organizations, as banks are, newer things are coming out. And so I foresee this as being a continual conversation that we have on different funding options for folks. There are a couple of questions that I did have for you, Mike, and then I had one question for Greg. So you mentioned your loans and you have 1,200 on the books. You mentioned your Main Street program and a few other different loaning programs that you have. Are those on hold right now? If they're not on hold, is there a possibility for potentially people to qualify for those outside of the context of, you know, COVID-19 if they meet some of those individual criteria for those loans, or have you kind of put a pause?
No, we haven't had a pause. Again, we're as a nonprofit, you know, especially for our Main Street loans, those are loans where we borrow funds from different organizations and re-let the funds out. Some of our funding sources are a little more expensive than is really appropriate today. We are working with several communities to try and create 0% interest rate loan programs. We haven't been able to do that with our funds because we have to pay our sources back. But our Main Street program, we should have 2 or 3 projects going through committee this next week. We're still able to do SBA 504 loans, and this may, for some businesses that are well positioned, be a great time to actually invest or become their own landlords by buying the real estate that they operate out of. I mean, there could be some opportunities there. We are helping banks still with the SBA Guaranteed Loan Program. We're still doing Community Advantage Loans. So all those programs are still going. It's probably not the best time in the world for a new business to actually be starting, but for an existing business that needs a little bit of extra help, again, the least expensive source currently today is going to be the SBA disaster assistance loans, which are 3.75% for for-profits and 2.75% for nonprofits. So relatively inexpensive money, but there will be less expensive money if you can get a forgivable loan, which is what we're looking at with the CARES Act. And then again, looking at how communities are adjusting to that, and many communities are looking at creating their own loan funds to help people in their, you know, cities or counties and stuff like that. And there are a lot of those that are sort of popping up all over the state at the moment. And I'm trying to work with as many of them as we can to try and make sure the cost of funds is as close to zero as possible, if not zero, so that we can look at deploying money to just keep the businesses going.
Yeah, I love that. And I like even the suggestion you were sharing about some of the programs that you have that could cover potentially buying the real estate, depending on where your business is at, but buying the real estate. And if that makes sense, cost-wise, and if it makes sense to give the risk of continuing your business during this time as well. Briefly, you had shared the Kiva loan. I know there was discussion on that being 0%. It seems like there's a little bit more that's involved on not only applying, but once you apply and are selected for it, then there's a little bit of the crowd raising and going from there. Do we know how many have actually completed that initial step and have received the funding to date?
It's been quite, again, the program is sort of, we only launched it again at the start of February, and that was coincidental, so we weren't expecting this, but we've actually pushed 3 projects out on there so far during the last week or so. It's really the goal for each raise is about 15,000. Again, it's up to the business and really Kiva to help decide what the need is. But again, it's 0% interest, so it's really cool. You go through that private raise, which is just finding 15 people to invest, and then you go through the public raise of actually finding enough other people to actually bring you up to that 15,000. There have been businesses on the Kiva platform that have been able to do the private raise within an hour to get onto the public platform and then get the public platform within a day. I mean, for many, many small businesses, it's creating this network, and many existing businesses, particularly businesses perhaps that have clients like restaurants, by getting the word out to their clients and having those clients, you know, you can buy a gift card for a restaurant, which a lot of people are doing, which really helps them, or you can make a $25 0% interest rate loan where you'll get your money back, and that can really help them. So it's really going to be a function of how quickly the business can actually circulate the fact that it's trying to raise a little bit of money. But we have seen that happen within a few days. You have 30 days to get to your goal, but I think a lot of businesses will be well positioned to get that done pretty quickly.
Yeah, I like it. Thank you for touching on how quick the turnaround is, because that is a lot quicker than I anticipated with once you apply and you've received the support, especially now as we're directing people, you know, shop, dine, or purchase gift cards and things like that. It'd be easy for them, I would believe, to donate directly to something that keeps the business around rather than investing in something and the business might not be there, you know, a year from now to spend that gift card, right?
Yeah.
So,
not really a donation, because I've got my I've got several $25 Kiva loans, and I get my 69 cents back every month. I mean, it's really a fun program. And Kiva
so there's a give back.
Yeah, so it's essentially, you can donate the funds later on, or you can relend them with another business, but there's a 6-month deferral where they don't make any payments to you, but then they'll make the principal payments to you over the next 2.5 years, which is fun.
Yeah, that is a fun approach to it. Greg, I'm going to turn over to you real quickly. You mentioned where can people receive information about the payment protection program that you were talking about, and I think there's a link that you'll probably share with me.
You will. I will. I'll share. And I know that I started this conversation back in China in December 29th. Let me bring this current. This is probably the most important thing that any business is how do I receive some of this $2 trillion economic stimulus? So first I want to share with you that as a banker, banks are just stewards of this program. We are gifted with the opportunity to be here to help a business owner. And I want to share with you that banks are also considered essential. So I'm going to give you 3 resources. First is stop by a U.S. Bank branch. We have many of them. You'll see them. We're visible. We're on street corners. We may have a lobby that's closed, but we have people working a drive up. That's one resource. The second is if you have a banker, certainly pick up the phone. But more importantly, what I want to direct any business owner, so that the crux of this whole conversation, go to usbank.com. On the header of usbank.com, there is a COVID-19 link that shows any business owner and consumer information about the CARES Act, but it'll also share with you information about financial assistance. Within our header and the CARES Act program on usbank.com, there are 5 questions. It is a simple questionnaire. We are taking clients' information as soon as the House passes the bill, if it is passed today, and the President signs off on it. And as Mike mentioned, we receive more information about the PPP program. U.S. Bank will be contacting those business owners that signed up, and we'll be sharing with them their different lending options. So again, I'm just going to say usbank.com and look at the header for COVID-19. We are very privileged and proud to be the stewards of this program and honored to be part of the community.
Thank you both to Greg and Mike. Thank you, Peter, for tuning in and saying hello. I know you asked how long it would take to get some of those loans approved. Hopefully Mike had answered a little bit about those individual programs that he touched on with Greg's. And I know the SBA, that was a question that was thrown to some of the SBA administrators, and I know they're working as best as they can to address all the applications that are coming through. But as you can imagine, there's going to be quite a bit of people that are applying on there. So not to discourage, but know that with this affecting the broader not just our community and state, it's affecting on a nationwide, there are going to be numerous applicants that are applying for this. So be sure that you go to our westminsterchamber.biz /COVID-19-update, where we'll have all of the information and links to the individual loans and programs that we're aware of, different funding opportunities, different grants and assistance, all the way to city, county, and state and federal different health orders that are coming out. We have various partners that we're working with, including the SBA, including our city, including Adams and Jefferson County state resources that we're also aligned with, and SBDC partners, Jeffco BRC partners, and others. So as you see things that we should be aware of, don't hesitate to send it to us, but make sure that you're also tuning into as many of our updates as possible. Long-winded. Have a terrific weekend, both of you. Thank you so much for taking the time to hop on here. And then we'll move forward as more information is released.
Great.
Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Juliet.